everybody. Today we're going to start our next unit, which is an argumentative writing. But in order to write an argumentative piece well, we need to know what an argument is. So today we're going to start talking about what the important elements of argument is. So what are those three components, you might ask? Well, the first component is a claim. A claim is a statement of belief that someone else could disagree with. So, my statement is that the Cardinals are the best baseball team ever. Now, there are a lot of different baseball teams out there, like the Brewers or I can't think of another baseball team, but you guys probably can. The Brewers are the only ones I know or care about too much other than the Cardinals. But I'm going to say that the Cardinals are the best baseball team ever. That's my claim. But I can't just say that. I then need to go to the next step, which is, what is my evidence? Or the data or grounds that support the claim. So you need to have something that supports your claim. It's answering that question of what makes you say that? Well, the reason that I think the Cardinals are the best baseball team ever is because the Cardinals have won 11 World Series championships and appeared in many, many more postseason playoff games. Well, we have to take it a step further than that. Yes, they've won 11 championships, but we also then need to give a warrant, which explains why the evidence that I just gave leads to the claim. So, you're connecting the dots is really what you're doing. So an example of this would be saying the postseason appearances, all the times that they were in the World Series or they were in the playoffs, is the hallmark of any great baseball team. So it is the main reason that any team is in a great team. So that's why the Cardinals are the best baseball team ever. Now, it's easy to identify your claim. It's easy to say, this is what I believe. But the hard part is supporting your claim through the use of evidence and warrants. So let's get started about talking about the three different types of evidence that you can use. Now, these are going to be new words for you, and that's okay. We'll figure it out together. So, you have a point you want to make or a claim. How do you prove it? Well, you have to find evidence to support it, and you can't just use because I said so. That's not a good support. You have to give actual reasons. And those three new terms that we can use are ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, this is where you're going to want to start taking some notes down because in the packets that I handed out to you, there is a notes page. Today, we're just going to write on the first little section that says ethos, pathos, and logos, and that's it. So ethos refers to the source's credibility and authority. The credibility and authority. So, is your evidence from a reliable, credible source? Now, you wouldn't want your English teacher, me, teaching you math because that's not reliable. A math teacher is much better suited to teach math because that's what they went to school for, right? I'm an English teacher because that's what I went to school for. I'm well versed in English language and writing it and how to read it. That means I'm a credible source. But you also want to come across as a credible when you are arguing. So when you're typing this up, you need to sound credible. And the ways that you do that is using language that's appropriate to the audience and subject. The words you choose make sense to the people who are reading it. That you use a restrained, sincere, and fair-minded voice. So that means that you are honest and trustworthy in your voice. What you're saying can be trusted and it's fair, right? It's just. And you're using the correct grammar and vocabulary. If you don't use the correct grammar or vocabulary, people aren't going to believe you or trust you because they aren't going to trust what they're saying, what they're reading. Now, if you have not had time to answer or write all this down in your notes, I would pause the video here and finish writing. Otherwise, I'm going to move on. Pathos is the next one. So pathos appeals to the audience's emotions, which is why you have this picture of all these different emotions to the right over here. So an example of this is like when a commercial does, you may have seen commercials like this, where they have somebody who's on the screen and they're talking about what happened to them and they're trying to kind of prove a point. So this one says, drunk driving offenders should receive harsher punishments because my 2-year-old daughter was killed by a drunk driver. So if a mom went on and made a commercial about this, and the whole point was to get rid of, to have bigger punishments for people who are driving drunk, then they may have her on there to appeal to people's emotions, right? Saying that her 2-year-old daughter was killed by a drunk driver. So that would make somebody feel sad, angry, upset that there are people out there that still drive drunk after something like that could happen. We'll come back to this next bullet. It says it's okay in persuasion and not in argument. When we talk more about the difference between persuasion and argument, we'll get to that. But this consists of emotionally loaded language, not languages, and stories. So lots of stories like what the example was from, right? Somebody who died from a drunk driver. Maybe it's if they're talking about anti-smoking, maybe it's someone who had cancer from smoking. The loaded language is saying things that's like going to make you upset, like, and have a reaction, an emotional reaction to it. Vivid descriptions, so talking in detail about something that happened. An emotional tone, somebody who's upset while they're talking or happy when they're talking, could go both ways. And figurative language, which we've talked about in class, using things like imagery, things like that. And connotative meanings. So basically, loaded meaning words that mean a lot in different ways, or phrases that are going to make you have an emotional reaction to them. So we'll talk more about pathos and how all of those different things kind of connect to the audience's emotions later. Again, if you need more time to write your notes, now would be a good place to pause it. The video, I should say. But our next one is logos. Logos is appealing to people's logic. Now, logic is basically, 2 + 2 = 4. Something that is really obvious, something that is a fact, not just an opinion. This argument utilizes, or argument in general, not this argument in general utilizes logos the most. So having logic when you're in an argument is pretty much always going to win. So this consists of facts and statistics, so numbers. 32% of people have died from cancer if they were a smoker. Like that, if that was a fact, that's the fact that they would be talking about. Citations and quotations from experts and different authorities. So this is like saying, hey, President Trump said this. And so that's like quoting something that he said or didn't say, right? That you may be seeing that in the news right now when they're talking about the coronavirus. I've seen that on a lot of commercials. Or maybe it's something like this doctor is a leading expert in like whether or not cigarettes are healthy for you and how bad they are for you. So we need to listen to him and quoting him. An informed opinion. So that's like that your opinion is informed when you know a lot of information about a subject. So if you've done a lot of research and you understand it really well, that means it's an informed opinion. And then literal and historical analogies. So analogies are stories, but it's based off of fact. So in the past, you might say there was a study done or something like that on this many people about whether or not cancer is going, or smoking is going to cause cancer, and like kind of telling the story behind it. But basically, logos is logic. So whether or not something is a fact or versus an opinion is really the main thing I want you to understand about that. Again, feel free to pause here to finish typing your notes. This is where we're going to end the video for today. And tomorrow you're going to be watching some videos and answering some questions. And I'm going to help you along the way with that with another video.